A couple of words about myself, as I saw for some people it is interesting who is conducting the webinar. My name is Svetlana, as I already told you. I work at Luxoft Agile Practice. It is a department within Luxoft that is engaged in agile transformation and setup of Scrum processes on projects, Kanban processes, XP processes on projects. All my life I have been working in IT. I changed different position. Most of the time I worked as a project and department manager, but I also did computer linguistics, technical writing, quality assurance. And now I'm working at Luxoft for nearly 2.5 years as an agile and career coach. So I set up agile processes on projects, and I do career coaching for project management, for Scrum Masters, for product owners. There are lots of interests that I have, there are lots of hobbies that I have, and there are more information about me, and there are lots of information about coaching and facilitation in my blog in LinkedIn. Here is our agenda for this webinar. We will talk shortly about what is Scrum, because it is not the main topic of our webinar, the Scrum itself. We will talk shortly about who is Scrum Master, but then we will start focusing on what Scrum Master should do. So we'll talk a bit about being Scrum Master, and then we will start talking about doing Scrum Master activities on the projects. What Scrum Master services should be provided to team, to product owner, to company, organization, project, or program. What are services of Scrum Master on Scrum events, such as retrospective, review, PBRs, planning meetings, stand-ups? What Scrum Master should do during these events? Also, what Scrum Master should do regarding Scrum artifacts. Probably you know that Scrum artifacts are sprint backlog, product backlog, and shippable increment that is prepared at the end of the sprint. And also, what are my suggestions for Scrum Masters who would like to develop their career in this area, in the area of Scrum Mastering? I will suggest some hints and tips. And we go further. So what is Scrum? Again, probably as many of you know, Scrum is a framework for developing and sustaining complex products. We use Scrum in IT industry, and Scrum is very simple. It's very easy to set up, but there can be complications about following it, because all Scrum description is located in 16 pages of Scrum Guide. Scrum Guide is a Bible of Scrum, and Scrum Guide contains only 16 pages. And as you see here is all about Scrum. So there are 3 artifacts in Scrum, like product backlog, sprint backlog, increment, and we will talk how Scrum Master should and what Scrum Master should do with these artifacts, how Scrum Master should deal with these artifacts. There are only 3 roles in Scrum. It is product owner, a person mostly responsible for requirements, for providing business value of the product. Scrum Master, a person who is responsible for Scrum processes, Scrum rules, Scrum artifacts. And development team, who is responsible for producing the shippable increment, or one of the Scrum artifact. Development team, it is the whole team, the QA engineers, the database engineers, web designers, UI designers, Java developers, web developers, anybody who is implementing the increment. In Scrum, it is called development team. And all these 3 roles all together is called Scrum team. There are certain events in Scrum that Scrum Master is supposed to facilitate. It is planning event, it is product backlog refinement event, or events. There can be set several of these events. There are stand-ups, there are review, retrospective, and sprint pulse, and sprint itself as a container of the events. And sprint pulse, it is how often and how regular these events are occurring during sprint. Actually, PBRs are not the officially recognized in Scrum. Scrum just telling you that your requirements should be up to date, and it is up to you when you're going to work with your requirements. But we work usually in our teams during these PBR meetings. We're refining or grooming our requirements. So about Scrum Master, who is Scrum Master and how it is to be a Scrum Master? Actually, people are usually not very interested in these philosophical and theoretical concepts about Scrum Mastering, but it is the main part of Scrum Master. If you are not able to be a Scrum Master, then you're doing it will be like cargo cult. It will be just some exercises that you're producing. There can be some benefit when you're doing something, but it is much more better when you be something, because it means that you will be involved, engaged, and responsible for the activities that you are doing. And here I am providing you the concept of a servant leader, and Scrum Master should be a servant leader. And this concept is founded by Robert Greenleaf. So, who is servant leader, or who is Scrum Master when he is a servant leader and he is supposed to be a servant leader for the team? So it is the person who is able to listen team members. It is the person who is able to feel empathy, to know how other people are feeling in the team. It is means that a person is empathic, is able to heal probably some emotional wounds. It is practicing self-awareness and probably self-management also. It is the person who is able to persuade other people together with listening. It is person who is able to practice foresighting, but also who is able to prognose something, based probably on some data already available. It is a person who have a good conceptualization skill. He or she can visualize something or have very good abstract mind. And the person is able to do stewardship, which is similar to this servant leadership. So it is the main concept about who is Scrum Master and how it is to be a Scrum Master. Sometimes during interviews for Scrum Master positions, you can be asked about what is servant leadership for the team, and in such a way you can like simply provide this concept about who is servant leader and what servant leader should feel, should be, should do. And now we are going to the doing part of Scrum Mastering, because I think that most of the people are interested in what Scrum Master should know, what Scrum Master can do, and what Scrum Master can do actually. So, what are Scrum Master services for Product Owner? As you remember, Product Owner is one of the team members of the Scrum team. So there are three roles: Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Development team. And now we will going to talk about Scrum Master responsibilities for Product Owner, for the person who is responsible to to bring the value of the product that is developed by the development team. The product owner, or in some cases, business analysts, as we call it, these people on our projects, or proxy product owners, but there are no such roles actually in Scrum like proxy product owner, business analyst. The product owner is responsible for requirements, for making the product valuable. And here is the services for product owner. It is taken from Scrum Guide. And the first is find techniques for effective product backlog management. It means that if you have empty backlog on your project, product backlog, if there is no requirements to develop, the Scrum Master should notify about it the product owner and ask the product owner to fill the product backlog. And if the product owner is telling that he don't know for some reason what will be the next, what will be the priority of the requirements of the features, the Scrum Master can suggest to use some models and help the product owner to manage the backlog. So Scrum Master is not the person who is managing the backlog, because it is product owner responsibility. But Scrum Master is the one who is helping the product owner to manage the product backlog using some instruments like Kanban model or prioritization metrics. You can read about it in the internet. There are lots of information about it. Helping also Scrum Master, helping Scrum team understand the need for clear and concise product backlog items. As I said, in Scrum, it is important to have product backlog revised and updated. And it is Scrum Master who is taking care that the team is actually interested to have the product backlog clear and updated, because the product backlog sooner or later becomes sprint backlog, and it will be the sprint scope that the team need to develop. And the sooner you start the investigate the requirements, actually probably the better, because in such a way you will be able to get answers for all your questions on the requirements and will be able to provide most expectable result to your stakeholders. So Scrum Master explained the team the necessity about clearness and accuracy of product backlog. Also, Scrum Master should understand what is product planning and what is product planning in empirical environment, and is able to provide different approaches, different tools for planning. And for instance, with the help of layers of planning concept. So Scrum Master should teach the team how to plan. Actually, most of the activities about doing is about like facilitating meetings and resolving some impediments that team have. It is the general activities of Scrum Master. But also Scrum Master should take lots of time and effort on coaching the development team. And here we can have a conflict, for instance, if Scrum Master is a project manager, or Scrum Master is also a QA engineer, or a developer, or technical lead, it means that the person can't teach the people Scrum, because this person has usually deep expertise, deep skills in his main profession, like project management or quality assurance. But usually such person don't attend lots of conferences, don't attend lots of webinars, lots of trainings on Scrum Mastery. And for instance, if someone is coming to a person and saying, hey, what is story point? Why we should estimate our requirements in story points? Actually, or how we can break down our features on smaller ones? The Scrum Master is usually has no answer. I mean, if Scrum Master is actually a person who is combining two roles in himself, because this person is also engaged in lots of other activities on the project, and he or she has no time to develop themselves in the area of Scrum Mastering, in the area of agile or Scrum. So my main point here is like Scrum Master should do coaching of the team, Scrum and Agile approaches. And if the Scrum Master on your project is combining several roles, just make sure that he or she has enough time to develop himself in Scrum. Because all these activities that I am going to continue to list to you is works perfectly well when Scrum Master is is an individual role on your project. But if it is not, this person will probably have no time to do all of these, and probably the team should help him to do this, because sometimes the Scrum Master is assigned by a manager on the project, and Scrum Master is doing also other activities, and there is no understanding that Scrum Master should also have capacity to do Scrum activities on the projects. So before asking Scrum Master to do all of these activities and further activities that I'm going to show you, make sure that the person has time for this, and time and wish to do this. So coming back to the Scrum Master services for product owner. Scrum Master is also should ensure that product owner really knows the value of their product. Product owner is the person who is talking to business users, who is talking to business people, and he, product owner, knows for sure why this product is being developed. And Scrum Master must somehow to check it, that the product owner is the real business person. He knows the market, he knows the business value of the product. If not, then probably the product owner should be changed, because in such a way your development team can create something that is not necessary for the business. Again, the Scrum Master should understand and practice agility. And the correct way to practice agility and to practice leadership is the book Leadership Agility. If you read it, you will see there are 5 levels, like levels or stages of leadership and agility. and you will see the difference between it. And you will find your own way of practicing agility and practicing leadership. So I highly recommend you this book, Leadership Agility. Also, Scrum Master should facilitate events when it is requested or needed. When the team is not able to facilitate the events by themselves, or for instance, when product owner can't facilitate product backlog refinement sessions or planning meeting, the Scrum Master can be asked to do the facilitation. And in order to do the facilitation, I recommend you to participate in these lakhs of training about facilitation techniques in Agile, in Scrum. Also, I will provide you further the link to my webinar on lots of facilitation techniques. I have many of them in my webinars, and you can find out the appropriate for your team to use. But it is Scrum Master responsibility for product owner. When product owner is asking Scrum Master, could you please help me with facilitation of product backlog refinement sessions, because I don't know how to do it. Maybe it's a new person, maybe this person, product owner, never worked in Scrum. So he actually knows the business value, but he never worked in Scrum. So he can ask Scrum Master to help him. Some questions. Some people can't hear me, but again, it is just one mentioning about it. How to arrange the product backlog to maximize it? Techniques. I have a webinar, by the way, on this, how to conduct product backlog refinement sessions. If you go to my LinkedIn and look through my posts, blog posts, in some of the posts there is the recording, or you can go to my YouTube, find me on YouTube, and there is also the recording of the how to facilitate product backlog sessions webinar, and you can find it there. I'm not sure that I have it in this webinar, but the link to this recording, but it is for sure exist. So coming further and talking about Scrum Master activities for development team, because Scrum Master should do some activities also for development team. Again, 3 roles in Scrum: the Scrum Master, development team, and product owner. Now we're going to development team. So development team should be trained, should be coached how to be self-organized and cross-function. And as for coaching in general, please look at this post where I'm describing one of the techniques of coaching, and there is also a webinar about how to coach team members in general. But Scrum Master is responsible to do coaching for self-organization. Scrum Master can't say, my teams are not self-organized, my teams are not cross-functional, and that is why Scrum doesn't work. It is actually Scrum Master responsibility to teach people to be self-organized and cross-functional and find techniques for this. Also, Scrum Master should help the team to develop high-value products. And what is high-value product? There is also training on this, and there is also lots of techniques that can help you. For instance, like Canon metrics or like prioritization metrics from the previous slide. It can help you to understand the business value of the project. And it is good when the team members not only understand the technical ideas about the features that they are developing, but also the value that this feature is bringing to the business. You probably don't need any techniques here, but just you need your product owner or your business analyst to explain the business value in business words, not just add this field to this database, not just add this button on this form, but what is the value for business users for this? Your team also should know about it. The next service of Scrum Master to development team. The Scrum Master should remove impediments. Again, if someone is asking for the help from the team, is telling that I can't contact some person, or I have some problems working on virtual machines, could you please help me? And Scrum Master can, if again Scrum Master has capacity for this, to help this person to deal with this problem. Scrum Master facilitates Scrum events, all Scrum events on the project when requested or needed. Again, you can see the link to the webinar where lots of techniques are discussed on facilitation. But this webinar is not on facilitation. It is like overview of Scrum Master responsibilities. That is why I added here links to the deeper information, because for 1 hour it is not enough. We actually have a 2 days training for Scrum Masters, and even sometimes 2 days training is not enough to understand all the activities, all the responsibilities that should be done by Scrum Master. So just take this webinar as overview, but there is quite deep information also about not only about services to all Scrum Master roles, all Scrum roles, but also to the Scrum events. We will go further to this. What Scrum Master should do on planning, on retrospective, and so on and so forth. Also, Scrum Master should coach development team in organizational environments in which Scrum is not yet fully adopted or understood. What it is meant. For instance, your team that is using Scrum already has some connections with the team, for instance, data team, or maybe some support team, SL3 support teams that don't use Scrum. And it is a Scrum Master responsibility to come to this connected to your team and to explain them what is, for instance, Scrum planning, what they expect from that third team or second team to be on for their Scrum planning. What is actually Scrum? Why they're using Scrum? Or for instance, you are working at some connection with some marketing department. You should also, if you are a Scrum Master, to come to marketing department and explain them what is Scrum, what is Agile, why you're using it, and what is expected from the marketing department to be also Agile. And what are the benefits of this being Agile? Maybe after this, they will hire you also to be a Scrum Master in their team. So what it is meant by coaching the development team in organizational environments in which Scrum is not yet fully adopted or understood. It is not only coaching your team, but all connected team as well. And we are going to the Scrum Master services for organization, to company, to program. So Scrum Master can function not only on the level of one separate team, but on the whole environment. And Scrum Master can lead and coach the organization in Scrum adoption. Again, explain different departments in the company what is Scrum and why we're using Scrum and what are the peculiarities of Scrum, what benefits we have from Scrum. It can be also done by Scrum Master. Again, if Scrum Master has capacity for it. Planning Scrum implementations within an organization. For instance, there is only like a couple Scrum Masters for the whole company, so they can make a planning when they're going to and how they're going to make processes transformations in different departments. Again, if they have authority and have capacity for this. Because if one team is working on Scrum, but all connected teams don't use Scrum, then you will have problems on your project because you have different processes and probably some artifacts, some input that is necessary for your team will be never provided in time because other people are not using Scrum and not using daily stand-ups or not using planning meetings. Also, Scrum Master helps stakeholders understand and integrate Scrum and empirical product development. Scrum Master explains what empiricism means, why we need first to do something, then analyze it, and only after this do some prognosis, do some predictions for future. So Scrum is based on empiricism. Scrum is based on metrics, on some observations that are done on the past. That is the idea of Scrum. And Scrum Master should translate this idea to employees and stakeholders. Or for instance, Scrum Master can coach stakeholders and can coach product owner. If product owner don't understand what is Scrum or stakeholders don't understand what is Scrum, Scrum Master can take some presentations, go to these people and explain what it is all about. Also, Scrum Master helps to increase productivity for Scrum teams. And for this, again, as I said, you need some metrics. And how to calculate, for instance, work environment, you can read in this post. And here you can see a webinar on Scrum metrics. What metrics I recommend to gather on Scrum Agile projects. There is examples here, and there is webinar with presentations and recordings also on this link. Also, Scrum Master can connect and can communicate with other Scrum Masters within organization and create Scrum Masters community where these people can share experience, how it is done on their projects, what barriers, what problems they have on their projects. Maybe someone else has already solved this kind of projects on their programs or projects or companies. So it is good when Scrum Master is interested to create community of Scrum Masters. It is not some people who should come to Scrum Masters and say, hey, just make a community. It is the people themselves, because they're true leaders and true servant leaders. They can gather together and discuss problems that they have with Scrum adoption on their processes or within their organization. I'm reading questions. When I'm getting mute, I'm reading questions. So there is, again, one noticing that there is problems with the sound, but just one only remark out of 120 people. What do you think coaching sessions per week? Or it is another way for coaching team and organizations? Very good question, I think. As for coaching or training for the Scrum teams, if you are just start that Scrum transformation within the team, so you'd better have like 2-3 workshops during a week for your team. For instance, one workshop is about user story breaking down, user story splitting pattern. The other workshop is about how to conduct Scrum meetings, for instance, Scrum planning meetings. The next workshop can be about roles and responsibilities. What roles and responsibilities actually we have in Scrum? What are supposed people do? The next workshop can be about definition of done and definition of ready documents. So when you're starting, just do 2-3 workshops per week. But if the Scrum is already adopted, probably then on the retrospective meeting, where you're discussing the problems of your projects and possibilities, which is also important, you can define with your team members the areas of improvement. And as a Scrum Master, you can understand that, for instance, people need to know more about business value of the project. Probably Scrum Master should organize together with product owner a roadmap workshop about actually product that they're developing, about the whole product. Or they understand that team members don't know how to do estimations in relative points, in story points. In such a way also, this specialized workshop can be organized on request. So when the Scrum is already adopted, I recommend you to make workshops on request by team members. But again, you should probably sometimes provide them the list of possible workshops that you as Scrum Master can prepare for them, and they can choose out of these workshops, because maybe they don't know the level of your skills and they don't know the level of your domain knowledge. So show initiative and provide some workshops for the team to participate in. We're going further. Scrum Master services on Scrum events. Again, what Scrum Master can do during the sprint. For instance, Scrum Master can send invites for team events for 2 sprints ahead, in order everybody knows in what location, what time the event will take place, and be ready for this event. Scrum Master can also define appropriate time boxes for the team meetings. Scrum Master can ensure that required participants will present on a meeting. For instance, if you need some domain expert on this meeting, the Scrum Master can make sure that this domain expert will be able to present on your meeting and not is on vacation or have some other meeting conflicts. Scrum Master is interested during the sprint in self-education, so Scrum Master is participating in trainings, conferences, webinars, and read books. It is important, and again, that is why I don't recommend you to combine this role with some other roles, because you need, first of all, to do self-education in your main role, like being a QA engineer or project manager. And after this, you also need time to develop yourself in Scrum Mastering area. Scrum Master can conduct workshops for team on useful agile practices. I see that lots of Scrum Masters are visiting my webinars or visiting my trainings, but I very, very, very rarely see that these Scrum Masters then create some workshops or trainings for their own teams. It means that they are not sharing the knowledge, and it is the responsibility for the Scrum Master to share his knowledge on Scrum, to share his knowledge on agile practices, on agile values and principles as well. Also, Scrum Master coach the team, answer questions about Scrum and Agile, and provide some examples how probably it is done on other projects, why we need to use Kanban board, why we need to do visualization on the project, what transparency on the project is required, what are the benefits of these. Scrum Master can also prepare environment for team meetings, for instance, to make sure that WebEx is working, that video call is able to create, that there is a room already booked for the team event. If you are not checking this, it can happen that you came to the room and something doesn't work and 10 people need to wait for 10 minutes when something is prepared, and again, you're wasting time in such a case. It's better one person like a Scrum Master came to the room and make sure that everything is prepared for the meeting. Also, Scrum Master can check relevance of the data in time and task tracking system and gather metrics, because you need metrics in order to improve your process. Suggest team building activities. If you see there are any issues about openness or trust in team or collaboration in team, you notify team about it. You're just saying, guys, I saw the examples where we don't have quite good collaboration in our project. I saw that someone came for somebody for the help and this person doesn't answer to that person. So I see there is some issues. Maybe I'm not right, just tell me whether I'm right or not about my observations. And if I'm right, I would like to suggest you to do, for instance, Johnny Line game or some other game in order to build trust in our team. There are some questions. Scrum is not methodology, it is a process. Scrum is a framework. Scrum is telling you what to do, but not telling you how to do it. Scrum Master should serve and clarify organization, teams, and ideas behind both in Scrum Agile. Yes, fully agree with you. Yes, Scrum Master should do coaching and teaching of the Scrum members. For instance, first Scrum Master can show a team member how to do a planning meeting facilitation, or product owner how to do a product backlog refinement facilitation. And after this, the product owner can do it by himself. So it is about teaching, about mentoring, sharing the knowledge. And what Scrum Master should do during planning meeting? Bring metrics for accurate planning, bring capacity, it is the ideal hours available for the next sprint, and velocity, it is the number of story points done during previous sprints in order to be able to plan the next sprint scope. Scrum Master suggests some facilitation techniques to do, for instance, affinity estimation or estimation net, or explain story point concept to team members during the planning meeting in order that on the planning meeting the team will be able to do accurate planning for the next sprint. Scrum Master can teach how to do breakdown structure, how to do splitting patterns, what are the splitting patterns for the user stories. And Scrum Master should know approaches for task prioritization and, for instance, use such technique like critical path. Also suggest the team to use it to see what are the main blocks of their task that should be done during the sprint. Before the planning meeting, the Scrum Master can define in the Jira, in any other task tracking system, the tasks that are ready for planning. Because on planning, you are supposed to make sprint backlog. You're creating this sprint backlog as a development team. But probably you should know what tasks are already refined, are already groomed to be a candidate for this planning meeting. And Scrum Master can do this work before the planning meeting in order not to look through the whole product backlog during planning meeting session, but look through the candidates for the sprint backlog meeting. Notify team when sprint backlog is less or more than capacity. For instance, you have capacity 100 ideal hours, but you already, or product owner is asking your team to take into the sprint tasks for more than 100, for 150 hours. And Scrum Master should notify everybody, should draw attention of everybody to this situation, to this issue, that our capacity is not meeting our expectations or our promises. It will help you not to do overcommitment during the sprint. Scrum Master can finalize product sprint backlog. It means when the team already agrees on all items that are going to be candidates for the sprint, and it is development team responsibility to create sprint backlog. But when the list is finalized, Scrum Master can just say, hey guys, it will be our sprint backlog. I'm going to define it in Jira in our sprint backlog, and I'm going to share it with all other interested parties, for instance, with management. Do you agree? If you agree, yes, okay. we will use this list as our sprint backlog. Scrum Master helps PO and team formulate sprint goal. It is the main idea of the sprint. It is actually why you're going to have this sprint, why it is necessary. So Scrum Master can, using some techniques or just asking what is the reason to have this sprint, just simple questions, to formulate sprint goal together with product owner and development team. And Scrum Master encourages product owner share reasons for possible or happened sprint cancellations. Probably, as many of you know, sometimes sprints can be cancelled, and in such a way, the reasons for these should be described to the development team in order to have them motivated to have new sprints. There is a question, can you share some metrics examples? Yes, you can find all metrics examples in this blog post. How to calculate work hours team, how to calculate work hours of the team. There is example of capacity metric, velocity metric, requirement stability index, and burn down charts. You can find it in this post with the explanations in the webinar, in this webinar that is also located in this post. And there is also, I think there is also matrices for calculation of these metrics here. Going further. Product backlog. Product backlog, as I said, it is a meetings for requirements groomings. It is a meetings for refinement of requirements. So Scrum Master should check that answers from previous product backlog are answered. It means that you have several product backlog refinement sessions. You need the answers. For instance, you asked something about your product owner about some functionality that you need details of this functionality, or ask for a mock-up to be created for this feature. And if it is not ready, it means that you are not able to make estimation of this requirement. You are not able to discuss this requirement further. That is why before the one PBR, just make sure that you have actually answers for this PBR from the previous PBR if you have several PBRs. Also, Scrum Master ensures that PO is ready, product owner is ready for PBR, because if product owner has only titles of the requirements and no description, no specification by example, no acceptance criteria, it means probably there is no need to make PBR and not to waste all team time on working on requirements, because there is no requirements and product owner is not ready, unfortunately. Scrum Master can bring definition of done. Definition of done document. It is a document defines what is done. Is it documentation written for functionality? It is some integration is made. It is maybe upload to some environments created. And definition of ready, it means what you mean as a team for your requirements when it is ready. Again, when requirement is ready for you to start development, when it has description, when it has acceptance criteria, when it has acceptance criteria, when it has some mock-ups inside, maybe specification by example, maybe some links to similar requirements, what is ready for you. And it is described in this document, and this document is brought by Scrum Master to PBR meeting, and you can check what requirements are ready to be taken in development according to these documents or not ready. Why you need definition of done on this session? Because you need this to ask the correct questions, because if there is some points in definition of done which identify your feature as done, it is better to know it beforehand, not not at the end of the sprint, but before the beginning of the sprint, in order to provide correct estimation. You need to track there. If you're Scrum Master, you need to time box this event. You need to write down questions and to log in it into the correct tasks in Jira, these questions. If there are some questions to product owner or other people, you can help product owner to create meeting agenda, features to discuss during the event. You can suggest techniques for requirements discussion, analysis, estimations, like callback, optimist versus pessimist, constellation, check-in, list from PO. For instance, when product owner described some feature to the team and asking, do you have any questions? And the team says, no, we don't. It probably means that the team didn't understand the feature. And in such a way, the product owner himself should start asking the team the questions in order to ensure that they have enough understanding. So product owner can prepare a checklist, just to ensure that the team understands the feature. Scrum Master and Product Owner can share follow-up to all interested parties after this product backlog meeting and ensure that assignees are going to answer the questions that they're assigned. So if there are some experts that should provide their answers, they're just notified that we're awaiting questions from you. And they should be notified not before the next meeting, but a couple of days before the meeting, because sometimes people need a bit more time to answer some of your questions. I mean, you here, I mean like development team. Also, Scrum Master can check the progress of technical investigation. If some technical investigation is required to do a correct refinement of the feature, then Scrum Master can ensure that there is people in the team who have capacity and skills to do technical investigation. For instance, if in order to provide estimation, you need to look through the code. And also you can explain the team the value of prototypes. Here there are links to YouTube where I'm showing how one of the team created paper prototypes of the websites. We did it during the training. It looks very funny. You can also have a look to it when I will share with you the presentation after a couple of days of this webinar. There are some questions, but I'm going first to provide all information of the webinar and then go to the questions. Daily stand-up. Again, Scrum Master should ensure that the daily stand-up was held. Scrum Master is not the must person who should present. Scrum Master can just make sure that the daily stand-up took place and the team has synchronized. Scrum Master is checking the relevance in the data systems. Scrum Master can update burn down, or other team members can update the burn down chart. Sometimes it is done in round. First, for instance, one day Alex is updating burn down, next day Mary is updating burn down. On Wednesday, for instance, Nick is updating burn down. It can be done also in such a way. Ensure that the team conducted daily stand-up, shares or ask to share results of the sync-up. So what was discussed during sync-up, what problems the team has during the sync-up, maybe some tasks, what tasks are completed, what tasks are ready for some other answers, what tasks are blocked. Also, Scrum Master can suggest new formats of daily stand-ups. For instance, not focus on a person who is speaking, but first focus on a task and then everybody in round telling what they do, what they did, what they're going to do, and what blockers they have connecting to some task, and not talking it one by one, these 3 questions, but 3 questions connected to the task. There are other techniques that Scrum Master can show to the team. During review meeting, you can read more detailed about what is review meeting is about in this blog post. Again, there is agenda of the review meeting that I suggest to follow for Scrum Masters, but you can prepare your own agendas as well. Scrum Master support early demo practice. It means when the feature is ready, no one is waiting for review meeting, just calling product owner and saying, hey, I am ready for you to show my feature. Product owner is looking through the feature and providing feedback. It is the main idea actually about Scrum. It is getting early feedback and being able to produce something that is valuable to people. Scrum Master is also teaching team how to make review. You can again read about how to make review, and Scrum Master is, so again here webinar is more focusing on what Scrum Master should do, and after this you can read other materials how to do it. So it is list what you should do. I'm providing some examples how you should do, but not for all of them, because 1 hour slot is not enough for this. So teach the team how to do review, help in agenda preparations. Agenda, I mean, what will be showing what feature in what turn, because in review meetings we're showing ready-made functionality for product owner. Scrum Master is checking readiness of required requirements and test data, because sometimes we are ready to show feature, but test data is not ready, and we are not ready to show actually anything, because what we are showing have no sense to business users. Ensure that the team is ready to answer questions, because sometimes the team is ready to show functionality, but when product owner asking why it is working in this way, no one is able to answer this question. And the team is ready to explain the reasons why some functionality is not developed. It's also important, because on review we only show ready functionality. and explain the reasons of not readiness of some features. Remind product owner about necessity to review and update product backlog, because during review you're also showing what is done, and it means that your product backlog, your features list will be changed, because some features will be marked as done or not done, and in such a way the product backlog can be updated. Also, during review meetings, Scrum Master can remind product owner to discuss the product further development for the couple of sprints ahead. On review, we are not only showing what we did as a development team, we are also expecting product owner or business users to explain us the development of the product in future, what business value it will bring to his users, to their users in future. And also Scrum Master should have a vision of how much we did during the current sprint comparing to the whole release cycle or to the whole product development within a year. How much we completed and how much we need to complete. Retrospective event, very simple event in Scrum where we are discussing the way to improve. We are discussing on retrospective not only problems but also possibilities, because sometimes teams says we don't have any problems, we don't need to have a retrospective. Okay, if you don't have any problems, discuss possibilities, discuss anyway how you can growth as a team, how you can growth within your organization, within your product, together with your product owner, together with your team members. If the team members don't want to go to retro, the meeting that is called retro surgery or retro can be held by Scrum Master. Scrum Master is bringing definition of done and definition of ready documents for revision and updateness if it is necessary. Scrum Master is bringing metrics that he gathered during the sprint, and they're discussing how to improve quality or performance, and together with the team looking for the areas of improvement. Retrospective is not event for the management, it is the event for the team to improve themselves. Scrum Master is making sure that points from previous retrospectives are done, because sometimes teams are committing to do lots of improvements and then forgetting about it. So no need to create one more list of 10 or 12 points. Just make sure that you did the previously committed points. Also, you can have such wishes box on your projects where during the sprint the team members are putting some notes about improvements on the project of the processes or in the environment or something else. And in retrospective, the Scrum Master is bringing this wish box, and you are just reading aloud what team members are put into it and discussing what you're going to do with it. Scrum Master suggests work cases for discussion, because maybe there were some not very good situation on the project, maybe there was some escalation, or maybe something was not ready in time. Scrum Master is writing down these problems during sprint and then notifying the team about these problems, just saying, hey guys, I saw that we had some bad case, can we discuss it? We need to discuss it in order to understand that how we can avoid it happen in future. We are looking forward to see how we can avoid such situations in future. Scrum Master can remind team members about ground and project rules. For instance, there is rules that everybody is at work at 12 o'clock, or at 11 o'clock, or at 10 o'clock, or at 4 o'clock, or there is some time where you have overlap in time with another team that works some far away from you. So for instance, you must present at work from 12 to 4. It is a must, and you need to remind your team members about it. You can also suggest interesting formats of retrospective if you're Scrum Master. For instance, here is one of the formats, like what you're going to keep doing on your project in next sprint, to start doing, to stop doing, less doing. For instance, you would like to do less bugs in your project, or you would like to write more unit tests to have increased unit test coverage of the project. You can keep doing your environment up to running. You can start doing maybe daily sync ups in new format, or early demos, or sanity tests, or you can stop doing being late for meetings. Scrum Master services with regard to Scrum artifacts. There is the following artifacts. It is the main artifacts in Scrum, like sprint backlog, product backlog, and shippable product. It is three artifacts that we discussed previously, but there are some other artifacts. They are optional, but they are good to have. And all these lists, documents and metrics should be held up and should be revised and updated on regular basis. And it is Scrum Master responsibility to remind the team that they actually have these documents. And if you have any problems with definition of done documents, Scrum Master can create a meeting, can create a workshop for the team for 30, maybe 40, maybe 60 minutes and discuss the current definition of done, why it is not fulfilled, why it is not done. When out of 10 points in definition of done document, you are fulfilling only 3, maybe all the rest is not necessary for your project. Sometimes we are also making presentations to our stakeholders what we mean by done, and they can be very surprised about it because probably they have idea of something very different. How you can develop as being Scrum Master. Before going to this section, I will look through the questions. What PO means? PO is product owner. Again, this webinar is not about Scrum. So in Scrum, we have three roles: Scrum Master, product owner, and development team. When is the best time to have the product backlog refinement session and the time suggested for the session? Usually, I suggest to have it once per week, for instance, for 3 or 4 sprint lengths. You have the product backlog refinement sessions in the current sprint for the upcoming sprint. So you have your refining your requirements beforehand. You're refining your requirements at least one sprint beforehand. Usually we have it, for instance, like on Tuesdays or on Thursdays. If we have product backlog refinement session, it means we don't have planning meeting on this day, we don't have retrospective, we don't have review. So just look through your schedule, see the days that are free of other meetings and set up product backlog refinement sessions. I will appreciate if you have information about how to write good user stories and help PO in these tasks. I will share with you with follow-up this webinar about how to facilitate product backlog refinement sessions, and also there is a book by Gojka Adžić. Okay, I will also share this book with you. There is examples and there is an article. Yes, there is definitely an article where there is several examples of user story splittings, like 10 or 12 examples. I will also share this information to you. I hope I will not forget it after the webinar. Yeah, very good question. I think it will be quite popular among other participants. So how to develop your Scrum Mastering career? Again, here is, if you never read Scrum Guide and you are using Scrum, probably it's time to start reading it. It is 16 pages and it is Scrum Bible, and here is the table of contents. You can see here actually what each role in Scrum should do. What is product owner about, development team, Scrum Master, what events, what artifacts, what about transparency, what about adoption, and inspection is set there. Also, about reading, about literature. There is a literature recommended by Luxoft Agile Practice. You can download it from this Dropbox link. It has the following structure: author, name, link, but link to the some bookshop if it is not available for free. What it is type of video or a book. Knowledge area, what it is about, more about facilitation, about Scrum, or maybe about product ownership. And actually this book can help about splitting requirements. Short description of the book, the level of the book, and if it is basic Scrum Master literature, you will have in list like one number. If it is not basic Scrum Master literature, you will have here no one number. But all these books, these 3 books are for Scrum Master, but the list contains maybe like 20 books, so not of them will contain these numbers. To watch. What you can watch in order to improve your Scrum Mastering skills. First of all, webinar again on metrics, webinar about facilitation, background webinar on facilitation fundamentals. If you don't understand actually how to create facilitated meetings structure, it is the webinar to start with, these facilitation fundamentals. And you can also read the post, how to review work results with stakeholders, how to do review meeting or demo meeting with stakeholders. There is a post with description of this meeting, with agenda for this meeting. And you can also watch the webinar, which is embedded into this post, Scrum Basics. So if you listen to my webinar but have lots of questions about Scrum, so please listen also and watch the Scrum Basics webinar. It is embedded in this post of review. Also, you can watch the webinar How to Facilitate Product Backlog Refinements, what techniques to use in order to understand your requirements better. I suggest you go also for, have a misprint here, for Scrum Master activities. It is Professional Scrum Master by Scrum.org. We have these trainings within Luxoft. You can register for these for free, or we have it not within Luxoft, not for free, but we have also this in Luxoft and conducting it in various locations like in Poland, in Romania, in Bulgaria, in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, in Russia in general. More trainings for Scrum Masters, but from AC Agile. The previous one was from Professional Scrum Master Organization, the Scrum.org. From AC Agile, I recommend you to go for Agile Fundamentals. It is mostly about Agile practices, Agile principles, Agile techniques, and Agile team facilitation. The facilitation training will take place in June in Kiev. It is in Russian because it will be conducted in Russian. It will be conducted in Kiev in June, and it will be in Moscow. We are going to conduct Agile Fundamentals in April. It will happen very, very soon. I will be conducting both of these trainings, the Moscow one together with my colleague Michael Podurets. We also will be glad to provide trainings in Sofia, Bucharest, Krakow, Wrocław, Minsk. For these, contact Agile Education. Here is the email. If you need trainings in these locations, just contact us. Also, if you're going to develop further in Scrum Mastering, I highly recommend you to go through free assessments by Scrum.org. So you can go to this link and to pass through open assessments to understand on what level are your knowledge about Scrum, just to assess yourself. You can go through different assessments. When you read Scrum Guide, you can go through these assessments or just to see on what level you know Scrum. More events from Agile practice, not Scrum related, but probably Agile related, is team coaching webinar that will happen on April 26, and it is overview of estimation in function, not relative, but function points, not story points, function points in May. You can register for these events, and I will have very interesting event in Kiev about facilitation. You can also have a look at it, and if you would like, you can join it. I'm going to look through the questions. Will the presentation will be shared? Definitely, the presentation will be shared with all participants by Tuesday. The presentation and webinar recording, and something that I already promised you about the book and about examples on story splitting. Will there be any class trainings conducted by Agile practice in the United States? You can probably no, because we don't have requests from United States. I'm conducting trainings both in English and Russian, but if you're a Luxoft employee or non-Luxoft employee and you have already a group of 8 people, just write to me or write to this email of Agile Luxoft Education, and we will see how we can conduct the training in the United States. I think for me it will be quite interesting experience to come to the United States to conduct training, but depends on the request from this country. So if you are truly interested to have these trainings in the United States, write to this email your questions, especially if you have several people who would like to have this training together with you. But for now, no, we don't have such plans. Is it better to have stronger technical or business background to become successful Scrum Master? To become successful Scrum Master, it is better to have what background to have. I even can't recommend you, but probably if you are good at these qualities, like being Scrum Master, so it will help you to become good Scrum Master, because you will be willingly helping people on your project. For product owner, it is definitely better to have business requirement than technical requirement, because product owner should formulate all requirements in business words, not technical words. But Scrum Master, just if you are true servant leader, you will be good Scrum Master. And if you have capacity like time to be a Scrum Master. People are saying thank you for you too as well. So that is all information I had for you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to write me in emails. I usually answer in questions. Register for my upcoming webinars. It was good to see you all here. Thank you a lot.